Hello, Adele, and welcome. Are you okay?
Good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Nice. I am brilliant and just so grateful to have you here. To kickstart, you are a career coach and confidence coach. What is the one thing out of everything that you find that every single client has like a common denominator?
I am on the premise of the shoe doesn't always fit everyone.
Yeah.
However, one of the main themes I feel that runs through most people is articulating what they are already great at.
Nice. Okay.
So people always are looking for more outside of themselves. Like, I need to do this to get this, and I need to do this to get this. But they're not already using what they already have and being able to articulate really well, like why what I have is already valuable and how you can use it to your advantage. And that falls into confidence as well. But I'd say that is the one thing that is the theme across nearly every single one of my clients.
Nice. And where do you start with like trying to get that out of them or trying to help them realize that?
I always start with just asking them like just really simple questions like, what is the thing that people come to you for the most? Like, what do people say well done all the time that you don't even pay attention to, that
No.
you take for granted? Like in my family, I'm the organizer. I organize the trips, I organize the holidays, I get everything done. Like everyone knows that's me. If there's an issue, I fix it. Like that's who they come to me for. I also notice that through work. So I just ask people, like, what are you known for? Even if you don't think it's a big deal. Even if it's something really silly and you say to me like, oh, I'm known for being the one who helps everyone get on the right fitness journey. I don't care what it is. What is it that you are known for? And then we start talking about what are you praised for at work? What do you find super easy? Because usually the thing that we find super easy, our superpower lies somewhere within that. The thing you take the most for granted. So are you always try and figure out what is it about that person that they're taking for granted that they think everyone can just do?
Mm.
But they haven't realized that actually maybe it's something that, no, actually, maybe you just do it really, really well.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, I think other people's strengths, because they're so good at it, like they can't see other people that are bad at it.
Yes.
They
Yes.
get,
Because you just assume everyone could do, like when I first ever learned to change my CV when I was changing industry, I just thought, oh, everyone knows how to do that. Like that's just like I'm not special. And then it wasn't until other people started coming to me saying, can you help me with mine? And I was like, oh, but why can't you do it? And then I started to realize, oh, not everyone can do that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
for sure.
just, the thing that you think is no big deal is often the thing that is a big deal. Like I said, even just being the organizer in your family, you might not think it's a big deal, but I know that I've helped people become like events coordinators and things like that from something as small as something they're like, it's not a big deal that everyone asked me to hold all the passports and hold the itinerary. Like you don't think of those things as being like a big deal, but someone trusts you. You're clearly responsible. Like there's qualities that we're not looking at because we use them every day and we take them for granted.
And then do you sort of ask them to look within job roles that that's like one of the main skills they're looking for?
Not necessarily, but I do ask them how is your job feeding that
Hmm.
part of you? So if you naturally can do something, that's a natural strength, it's a natural quality.
Yeah,
Does your job feed that? Because jobs tend to be harder when we work against our natural abilities.
yeah, for sure.
So it's much easier if your job incorporates that. It doesn't have to be all of that, but does your job give you enough opportunity to showcase what you can naturally do? Because we're naturally more confident when we're doing things that come easy to us
Yeah. Well,
or
you're
come
just in the
naturally to us.
flow state, aren't you? It's like
Right.
effort. It's like more, not effortless, but like effortless.
Yeah, it is. It's way like when you're in flow, things just feel so much easier. Like when I'm working in my zone of genius, I get so much more things done than when I'm trying to do things that are a part of my job because I have to do them, but actually aren't natural to me. They're quite hard. Takes me a lot longer. I'll procrastinate, I'll avoid because it just doesn't feel natural to me, but it needs to get done. Like the admin. The admin's just got to get done. But it doesn't mean that I love it.
Yeah, for sure. Whereas other people, they're like an absolute whiz. They love like
Whiz.
Excel spreadsheets and they just find that so mentally stimulating.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like the person who has helped me in my business, like on and off, like she is great. She can do all that stuff all day. She's got pens and books and her computer and then her laptop and she's got all the things. And I'm just like watching her like, what took me 4 hours, you got done in like 40 minutes. I don't understand.
I love that so much. Yeah, that's funny. Fantastic. Have you had any like really fun breakthroughs where they realized like the organizing of the family trips and then they've like doubled their income by going for like a really, really cool career.
Absolutely, absolutely. In so many different areas. I think when you figure out what you're competent at, people always ask me, how can I be more confident at work? How can I be confident? I'm always like, okay, what are we good at first? Let's talk about what we're good at. Confidence comes from like, we have to give ourselves internal praise. We have to give ourselves internal claps. We have to cheerlead ourselves. So once people start to realize, oh, this quality is actually how I'm making money. Because a lot of the times we go to work and we think we just do our job. But actually, if you're not doing your job well, you won't keep your job. That's first and foremost. People will not hire you. Corporate companies will not, businesses are not hiring you just to be there. You have to be benefiting them in some way. It doesn't matter what your job is. Like I have people that don't think their job is important. So I've had people that have come to me, like we were talking about admins, executive assistants. I had an executive assistant who I helped go from 50K to who's now on like 95K. And she's like, but when she came to me, she was like, I'm just an EA. Like, all I do is like help people do admin. I was like, you help a whole business run. And she was like, but how? And the organization, the fact that you make your boss's life easier, the fact that your boss's day cannot move unless you make it move.
Yeah,
That's
nice.
worth being compensated for. But she wasn't looking at it like that. She was just looking at, we mostly as humans, we look at the duties we do, not how the duties affect or are valuable to someone else. So once I get someone to understand, okay, you're the organizer in your family, how has that benefited your family?
Yeah.
How has that avoided things going wrong? For instance, you have all the passports. Everyone gets to go on the holiday because of you. Like, how is it beneficial? Then we talk about how do you use that in your job?
Yeah.
How is that making your job profit? How is it valuable? How is it beneficial? Okay, now we need to go and get paid more for it. So my job is always to help people see the skill and then understand that you can get paid double for that skill.
And enjoy the process a little bit more as
And
well.
enjoy it, yeah, and grow in confidence because you start to realize, like a lot of my clients will say to me, oh, when I leave working with you, I've got a big head. I'm like, good. That's what you should have because you should be confident in what you do have and not worry so much about what you don't have. We all are, there's things we all don't do. Like I'm not a rocket scientist. I can't do brain surgery. Like there are so many things I can't do, but they're none of my business. What
Yeah,
I can do is what is my business. And I think we tend to not focus on, okay, what can I do? How does it benefit someone? And then how can I get paid more to use that in my career?
nice. Do you ever have to work on your weaknesses though? And what is your advice about working on your weaknesses?
Absolutely. I'm not a believer in just, oh, you've got weaknesses, we can't get better at them. Or
Yeah, for sure.
like, I hate this part of something, so I'm not going to do it. Like, if I'm honest, I still work 2 days a week in corporate. And my pet peeve, like I'm in human resources, I'm in recruitment, I'm in like management services, like managed services. The thing for me is there's a lot of the paperwork stuff I do not enjoy. But if it doesn't get done, the rest of my job doesn't work. So as long as I enjoy 80% of my job, the 20% I don't enjoy is usually what I work at and is usually maybe what I'm weaker at. So I work on the weakness in the sense of I'm never going to turn a weakness into a strength. And I feel like that's what too many people do. You work on the weakness, like I've got to be number. No, the weakness is always going to be my weakness. I have had that same weakness for 10 years. However, 10 years ago, it was really bad. Like it was a noticeable weakness. Now, someone looking in would probably not think it's a weakness, but it is. I'm not great at it. Like I was saying to you, if I have my admin who helps me out, take me 4 hours to do it, it will come out great. So people see the end result and are like, oh, you're good at it. No, but it took her 40 minutes to do the same thing. So actually, no, I'm not that good at it. But you have to accept the weakness, but work on getting better at it in the sense of, and again, not working to make it a strength, but just working on slowly getting better at it. Like, how does that weakness, because sometimes the weakness actually feeds parts of your job. Like you've got like having your own business. Like when I started my business, I've never done marketing a day in my life. Like a day in my life. Like what is marketing?
Now, how many episodes are you on your Spotify?
Right, 131. I think today is 131. Never done marketing a day in my life. Like, so what I'm saying is you can have a weakness that you can get better at. It doesn't mean it becomes a strength. It just means that it no longer hinders you to the extreme that it did previously. So I do think, yeah, we should identify our weaknesses and we should only identify weaknesses that we need to get better at. Again, like I said, I've got loads of weaknesses. I don't need to be good at all of that. There's some things that will never benefit my life. So how will you getting better at that weakness benefit your career, benefit your bank balance, benefit your life? Like, is that weakness going to help you? Or are you just picking random things that you're not good at and saying, oh, I need to be good at them? Do you want to be good at them or do you need to be?
Yeah, yeah, I like that a lot because as well, we can think before even identifying them, you're just like consciously aware that you're not very good at that. But if it's not going to bring you back anything, then kind of what's the point? Like, why put yourself through all that distress and disenjoyment to try and get good at something that's not even going to give you any sort of fulfillment or sense
There's
of,
no fulfillment or reward at the end, just that you can say, oh,
yeah.
I'm now good at it. But why? You've stressed yourself out. You've put yourself, you've knocked your own confidence because you're like, I'm so bad at this thing. Do you need it? Like, that's my thing. Do you need to be good at it? Because if you don't, why do we care?
So once we know our strengths and we know our weaknesses and we know our like skills on top of our innate strengths, how do we manage going through that change? Because I'm assuming there's like elements of overwhelm when you are about to make that change, especially if it's in like a completely new city or even just changing from a career that you've been in for 20 years or however long. I know you as a teacher, that like overwhelm and self-doubt, how did you manage it and how do you coach your clients through it?
Okay, so how did I manage it? To be honest, I was literally talking about to someone earlier today about this. When the way I managed my original transition, I was chasing money. I'm always really honest about that. Like when I left teaching, I had my daughter. I wanted to make a better life for me and my daughter. She was like 18 months. I wasn't teachers. We all know, doesn't matter what country you're in, don't get paid that well, especially for what they do. So I was chasing money. If I'm honest with you, the pursuit of money made that overwhelm a lot less because I had a purpose. I wasn't thinking of the overwhelm. I was thinking, what do me and my daughter need? So when I help my clients with the overwhelm, I like to focus on where we're going.
Yeah.
So, okay, you're going to feel the overwhelm. It's going to be there. But what is bigger than that overwhelm? What life are you trying to build? Like, I like to get my clients to think of the big, outrageous goal that they've got in 5 or 10 years. The thing that they're scared to say out loud, that actually is the thing that they want the most. So what is this transition? What does it mean? Like, why do you want another career? Like, because if you just want it to want it, it's pointless. You have to have purpose in what you want to do. Overwhelm is going to come. I think one of the biggest things is when my clients are super overwhelmed, we go back to what they're good at. Again, confidence is built by understanding your competence. So we start working like this. We do different exercises to figure out what we're good at. And then when I say to someone, what are you good at? I'm going to need you to at least be able to give me like 10 different examples, 10 different stories. Like you should just be really, you should be like, oh my gosh, and I did this, and I did this, and I did this. That helps with the overwhelm balance because you start being like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was good at this thing. And we can shift your focus. But when you are moving forward, if you've been in the same career like me 10 years before I moved, the scariest part was, what if I'm absolutely rubbish and I end up living in a box? And that's a very ridiculous, extreme thought, but I was a mum. I had someone else to think about. I was like, what if I lose everything? When you're feeling overwhelmed, remind yourself that your current starting point is where you will end back up. Our brain will have us believe that we will end up worse than where we are. So I wasn't saying to myself, oh, if it doesn't work out, I can keep teaching. I was saying to myself, if it doesn't work out,
You're
I
homeless.
lose my house, I lose my car, my life is over. What if I don't make any money? Firstly, if you're changing jobs and you get the job, you're going to make money because they have to pay you a salary at the end of the month. That's the first thing. But your starting point is wherever you are today. So if today you've been able to secure a job in whatever industry, you currently work, you're doing well, you've been in the same job 20 years, guess what? If you go and do something else and it doesn't work out, you can go back to not the exact same company, but the same job that you've been doing for 20 years, because that's your zone of genius right now. Go back, do that for a few months, move things around, and then start again. I think we're scared to, overwhelm comes because of fear of the unknown. And overwhelm comes because if it doesn't work, I'm going to be embarrassed and I might have to start again. But you can stop and start as many times as you want. So for me, it was, I just had to start telling myself, oh, I'm still a teacher. Even if tomorrow morning I go to my brand new job and I've been there 3 weeks and I hate it, I've been a teacher for 10 years. My starting point is that I will go back to teaching. That really helped me with any overwhelm, plus the pursuit of money, of course. Those two things. And I never went back. It's been 15 years. But in my mind, I still tell myself, like somewhere deep down, I'm like, oh no, I can still be a teacher. I absolutely couldn't. So all the teachers that are watching, you're probably like, no, Adelle, you've been out of it for 15 years. But I'm in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but I was a teacher for 10 years. Like
No one
that
can
is my
take
old,
those experiences away from you.
right. That is my old starting point. Like that is, and even now, if I changed my job again, my current starting point is I've been doing HR and recruitment for 15 years. This is my starting point. Like you never go back to the beginning because you're never starting fresh. You're starting with knowledge. No matter where you are in life, you can never go back to that point where you had no knowledge, where you were maybe fresh out of school, maybe where you were a graduate. You can't, because you've now grown in knowledge. So wherever you start is your starting point. So I think for anyone who gets overwhelmed, think of your current starting point. You're living your life right now, whether you're like content or life's ticking over. This is your current starting point. Even when things go wrong, your reset button will reset you to this exact point in time.
I love that so much because I think it is so, the thought of starting something new feels like you are back at zero, but you're not. So I absolutely love how you've explained that in such like in a way that like you can just sense so much of, you have all of this knowledge and life experience. Like you're never, not
Zero.
a single person is ever
Yeah.
at zero.
You can never, like, we can never be a baby again.
Yeah.
You can never, like, you can't be
Yeah.
zero. But I think it is very normal not to pick up on that when you're going through a situation,
Uh,
because humans default to the worst possible scenario. Even if you're not someone who catastrophizes, like I'm a catastrophizer, but even people that aren't like that, they still default to the
mhm.
worst possible outcome because you have trained yourself and you've been doing the same thing every day in and day out. And guess what? That brings us all comfort, whether we're happy or not. Repetition brings humans comfort. We know what to expect when we wake up. We know what our boss is like. We know what our colleagues are like. It's repetition. But our brain is telling us, if we set that on fire by going after something else, oh my gosh, now we could lose everything and be back at zero. There is not a day in your life you can ever be back at zero, because you can't take away the knowledge you have. You can't take away the life experience you have. You can't take away the way you can now build relationships because you've been in a corporate company maybe for years, or you've worked with other people. There is no way to remove that out of who you now are. So you're always starting from experience.
Yeah, incredible. Love that. Mic drop. But yeah, and as well, like with the rise of like anxiety and stuff, I'm going off on like it's a very slight tangent. I think if you have a job that is so familiar and is very like repetition, like every day sort of looks very similar, your anxiety lowers so much
Yes.
every time you go through the fear. Let's say you've had like a week off because you've been ill, and then you feel so anxious about walking back in, or somebody said something about you at work or whatnot, and then you go back in and everything's very the same. I think that heals anxiety massively.
Totally agree with that, because your nervous system
Yeah.
doesn't like change. If
Uh-huh.
you suffer in everyone, but if you then suffer with anxiety, that's even worse, because your nervous system is already at like its highest level. It's already on alert. It's already worried. So actually repetition actually becomes very helpful for your anxiety. And again, that will sometimes keep people stuck. Where that's where I meant, where people will stay even when they're not when they're unhappy, because there's a part of your nervous system that is calmed by that structure. So when you're anxious, your nervous system is very calm in that structure. Even if you're not happy, you are happy. So sometimes when people are unhappy, I always ask them like, okay, you're unhappy, but you haven't decided to change anything. What are you benefiting from being in this unhappiness?
Hmm.
Because we only stay in situations we're unhappy in because there's a part of us, a part of our nervous system, a part of our brain, like a part of us that is benefiting from this level of like comfort that is also a little bit uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
I do agree with you that on that anxiety. And when I work with clients who have suffered with anxiety, or sometimes my clients have like are doing therapy for things like anxiety, but then are working with me for things like their career and their confidence and to move forward.
Yeah.
That's something we really have to work on. How do we regulate nervous system? Because they're not going to be able to just jump and be like, oh, I got the job. Because even when they get the job, then they're panicked about the job. Like, so it's a much slower process, but there is still a process to work through your anxiety. It's more about sometimes if one thing is changing, trying to keep everything else as the same as possible.
Mhm. Yeah,
So that
like
you're
your flows or like your routines, your shower times, and like your food. Like, say if you do that food preps, like do it as well. What I did, because nervous system healing like actually really helped me a lot when I was changing. I didn't realize how sensitive to change I
you
was.
are.
Like I've always done it so well. It is definitely one of my strengths, but there's like a nervous system like freak out, and I'm like, like an Asda food shop, so I know that it's gonna be there, like, the day that I move in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like different things like that make
People
my
don't
bed.
people don't realize that will calm your nervous system because it's just a repetition of something maybe you've done previously that your brain feels familiar with, and it's like, oh, okay, it's the
Yeah.
same. I
Yeah.
feel comfort in the same, even though on this side everything's changing. All of this has remained the same, so that makes me feel comfortable and that makes me feel good. And yeah, I feel like when you are working through nervous system healing, that is something that's so important. We can't just throw everything out because that will make most people that have like sensitive nervous systems, you'll retreat and you will go straight back to where you were because too much happened at once.
Yeah, for sure. And all of that sort of healing and growth, you kind of want to go back to that old like identity, if you want to call it, because
Yes.
that's what's most familiar rather than this new version of you, these new habits, these new lifestyles, because it's like freaking you out. What about your advice to graduates? I know we said that was a lot focused on like people who have been in a career for like 10, 20 years. But what about for graduates that are dipping in and out of jobs and they can't really figure it out and they're like frustrated and maybe they're getting like a little bit scared of their like 20s or their 30s and they're coming up and they're like, I don't have a career, what am I doing? But they have like a degree or something.
First thing I say is it doesn't need to be perfect. Progress over perfection. Every time you're in a job, I want you to be thinking about, as a graduate especially, what am I learning? What
Yeah.
am I earning? Can this help me in the future? Yeah. What are you getting from that job? Because if you're learning loads that's going to help you in your future careers, you're good. You don't need to have it all figured out. Listen, people in their 30s, adults, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I say this all the time to everyone. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up. They're like, but you're a coach. I'm like, yeah, that's this lifetime that I'm living. I also used to be a teacher. I lived a 10-year career. That was my lifetime then. Human resources and recruitment, and that's my current lifetime. Some people, for graduates, some of you will know exactly what you want to be as soon as you leave uni and will follow that path and will do that the rest of your life and you will love it. And some of you, guess what? You will do something for 5 or 10 years and love it and then hate it and then do something else. And the truth is that one traditional route that you've been taught is not the route that everyone takes. It's not the route that everyone has to take, because if it was, we'd all be exactly the same, different human beings. There is no one right way. So if you're the person who hasn't figured out what they want to do, I definitely had not figured out what I wanted to do when I was like, I thought I was going to be a teacher. Well, first I thought I was going to be a journalist. Then I thought I was going to be a teacher. Then my mind has changed so many times. And my life has shown that, my career has shown like that my mind is quite changeable every 10 to 20 years. I'm like, maybe I want to do something else. It's okay. You've just come out of uni. Like, enjoy learning about yourself. Enjoy figuring it out. You do not want to be the person who thinks they found their career at 21 and at 28 hates their life because they thought it had to be perfect and now it's not what they wanted. Take your career as it is. Like, you graduated, you've never really had a career. The first job might not be the job. The second job might not be the job. The third job might not even be the job. But did you earn from it in a way that you could like potentially be saving or putting money away or using that money for something else? Or did you learn something? Did you learn a new skill? Did you learn an in-demand skill? Like right now, AI is all the rage. Did you learn an in-demand skill that is going to feed the rest of your career no matter what you do? That's what I would say to all graduates. We do not need to, the first job is not the job. It doesn't have to be the job. Okay. The reason why the first job doesn't have to be the job is because you've got a lot of learning to do in that first job. You need to understand how businesses work, how relationship building works, what it's like to go get up and go to work every single day on time, not be late. Like, there are so many things that you're going to have to learn. Worrying about, is this the job I'm going to do for the next 30 years, should not be one of the things that you're thinking about when you're a graduate.
I think that's one of the most common thoughts though.
Like, I need to do this for the next 30 years. I would always say to a graduate, why?
Well, not necessarily for the next 30 years, but
A
considering
career.
like why am I doing this?
Yeah, like what?
Like
Why am
that
I doing this?
existential crisis. Because
But
as well, like we see so much on social, because we see like so many different people's lives of all of the different lives that we could potentially have. And then I think when you're just there at work and it's not like fulfilling you or doing 45 hours a week, it's like, what am I doing with my
you're
life?
building the foundation. That's what you're
Honest,
doing. You have to build a foundation. I think everyone wants to run before they can walk.
100%.
And I say to people all the time, like that saying, you work smarter, not harder. I
Yeah.
recently had this conversation and I was like, can you work smart if you've never worked hard? How do you know where to find the loopholes? I had to work hard before I knew how to work smart because I worked hard, I learned my job, and then I was like, oh, there's better ways, there's quicker ways, there's better systems. But how would I have known what would have made something better if I hadn't originally done the original thing in the first place? So while you're sitting in a room 45 hours a week, 40 hours, thinking like, what am I doing here? You're working hard because eventually you're going to be able to utilize that and work so smart that you will never have to work those 40 and 45-hour jobs again. You will never have to be earning minimum wage again, but you need to be in a space where you do that first. And social media, I think, is such a big thing now. And you see everyone's lives. Always a reminder that social media is everyone's highlight reel. Everyone. No one is on social media showing you the crap they went through to get where they got. Like people watch me now on my Instagram and stuff or on my LinkedIn and they're like, oh my gosh, she does so well in her business. They look at my podcast and they're like, wow, amazing. They don't look at 2019 Adele, who was stressed out, working 24/7 because I'm HR, I'm marketing, I'm payroll, I'm everything in my business. And I never realized how much it took to start a business. But they see Adele. You don't see the hard work, you see the smart work. But if you go back on my like social medias, I used to post like 3 times a day, 4 times a day to get like so people would see me, so people would know I am. Now, sometimes you're lucky if I post once a week. Why? Because now I can work smart because I laid the foundation. So anyone graduate that's in a job and you're not sure, you are laying the foundation for that long-term career that you're looking for.
How did you start your coaching business?
So before my coaching business, I had a first aid company with one of my, well, she's my friend, but also a colleague. We started a business together. We did first aid it was first aid and different trainings for like almost 10 years. She moved to
Oh,
Dubai. So she's in Dubai now living her best life. And I didn't want to carry on the business because I would have had to do a lot of the training here in the UK on my own. And I was like, it's just going to be too much. And I knew I wanted to help people. And I'd already, before even any of this, I've always in the background as a recruiter helped friends, family, people I know with CVs, interview prep, negotiating. It's just something I've always done. I've helped so many people in my family get jobs. I've helped people change careers. Like, I've just always been that person. So I then decided I was like, oh, who can I help to do that? And a lot of people were like, oh, Adele, at this point I was a single mom. So a lot of people were like, you're a single mom. How have you been able to juggle being a single mom and being in corporate and being a director? Because at this point I'd worked my way up and people were like, how are you doing all these things? Plus you've got a business. And I was like, maybe I'll start helping single moms up their careers. So I started just showing up on Instagram and stuff talking about like CVs and how to make your CV better and how I can help you do your CV and how I can help you with interviews. And then people started calling me a coach. And I was like, huh? Like people just kept saying to me, like, message me and be like, hey, coach, can you help me with it? And I'd be like, coach? I'm not a coach. I just write CVs. Then I started to look into coaching and what it was. And then obviously 2020 happened, pandemic hit.
mhm.
I'd already been thinking, what is coaching? Started to look into it more, did a course, was like, oh, this is really cool. What kind of coaching can I do? It came down to confidence and careers. Like that's what it came down to. And then, yeah, rather than just being someone who helps single mums do CVs and get better careers, I just was like, oh, I'm a career coach and I help people change careers and I can help people make money. And I can also help people get a lot of confidence and gain the confidence they need to be able to make the transition. And then, yeah, and here we are. That's basically how we got here. And then, yeah, that was back at August 2019. I remember when it started.
Nice.
Totally different name. It wasn't called what it's called now. Like yeah, like I said, I was doing something I know I'm good at. And that goes back to what we talked about at the beginning,
Mhm.
realizing what you're good at and using that in your career. I was just doing something I was good at, helping people with CVs, helping people with interview prep. People started calling me a coach. I did some investigations and was like, this might be something interesting. And then decided to do a course so I could understand more about it. And for me, I don't always think you need to do a course when you transition, but for coaching, I wanted to understand it more. So I did my course. That definitely doesn't teach you to do marketing or any of that, but it taught me what coaching was and how to do it well. And then, yeah, just decided, let's start this business up as a coaching business, not just a CV writing business. And then it's just gone on from there.
That's gorgeous. I love how it all just sort of fell into place and how other people started calling you a coach before you even sort of set that intention. I think that's
Yeah.
so nice. And I
Yeah.
think that's like the dream circumstance for anybody who's ambitious. They would like love to be able to offer something and then they start calling them
Yeah. The
something.
thing that I didn't even know I'd ever become. Like
Yeah.
when people say to me, oh, have you always wanted to be a coach? I didn't even know that really was a thing. I knew there were life coaches and I knew it was more of an American thing than it was a UK thing. But once I got into that world, then I was like, okay, this is really like, I'm actually doing a job. Like every time I help people with their interview prep, I'm coaching them through the process. Like it was just me understanding what that was versus yeah. And then I think it was really cool because then people I'd previously worked with in corporate started messaging me and they were like, this is exactly what you should have always been doing. Like some of my old staff have even like left comments on my like LinkedIn where they were like, Adelle always was coaching us at work. Like she's
Yeah.
always been a coach even before she knew she was a coach. And then now when I look back, I'm like, oh, the qualities were always there. The skill set I'm using is not a new skill set. I
Yeah.
was a trainer, so I was training people. I currently do that now. I teach, I train. Like I was a teacher in my past life. I'm still a teacher now. I teach people how to do CVs. I
Yeah.
teach people how to. So what I mean is the skills have never changed. They've just amplified and I found different ways to use them. And I think sometimes when we change careers, we think that we need new skills. It's not that you need new skills. You need to articulate how you're already using your skills and how they're valuable. I use the exact same skills I did teaching 5-year-olds, like as I do now, but just in a more amplified way. Of course, I don't teach adults the way I teach 5-year-olds, but it's still the same qualities. The skill
Yeah.
set's the same. I have to understand that I can't teach all the people the same. I never taught all my kids the same because 2 kids will not be the same. Like the way you teach one child will not be the way you teach another child. Same with when I'm working with my client. The way I coach one person will never be the exact same way I coach another person. So your skills don't go anywhere. If you understand what they are, you can amplify them and use them. And I was lucky enough, like you said, that other people were like, oh, you're a coach. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I am.
Yeah, I love that. How do you go so differently with like other people? Like, do you know, because it's all tailored on like a one-on-one sort of basis, how do you sort of tailor it? Do you just like
I am
feel the situation or
I'm a natural problem solver.
nice?
In my friendship groups in life, if there is a problem, my brain will always say to me, no, there has to be a way to fix it. I don't believe you cannot fix something. So therefore, even if people come to me with 10 different problems in their career, I'm like, okay, there's 10 different ways that I can help this person get the outcome they want. Like I just am a natural problem solver. So what works really well for me is that one-on-one, me getting to understand what their issue is. Because sometimes okay, you could have 10 people and the issue seems different on the surface.
Yeah,
But deep down, you know, like what we said when you asked me right at the beginning, what's one common thread?
yeah,
Deep down, actually, you all have the same problem. You're just telling me it in totally different ways. Maybe you can't communicate how good you are. Or you'll say to me, I hate selling. I can't sell myself at an interview. Then I'll say to you, oh, okay, what are you good at work? And you'll start reeling off 100 things. And I'll be like, oh, you just sold to me. And they'll be like, no, I just told you what I was good at. Yeah, that's what selling is. But because you didn't understand selling like that, you understood selling as like the sleazy car salesman who like just makes up loads of lies. You decided that was the only way to sell when actually I know selling as being so many different things. So when I said to you, oh no, but you just sold yourself to me. You just told me all the things that I would benefit from if I hired you. They're like, oh, that's all I got to do. Yes. So I'm a problem solver. I like to get to know people and their problems. I ask them a lot of questions just like about why they think they're stuck, what they've tried to change, what they've been doing, what's the big end goal. And then I look at, is it what you're telling me or is it something else that you're missing? And it's usually something else that you're missing. And that's how I solve the problem because I can see, and that's like any of us, we all have our own blind spots.
hmm
Like I have a coach, like I'm in a group program and I have a coach and I've had that same coach since 2022. Reason being, I might not see my own blind spots.
yeah. Okay.
Sometimes you don't even need, it's not even just coaches, your friends, people you trust can sometimes see your blind spots and say to you, I know you just said that you're not good at that, but you always help us guys do X, Y, Z. And then you're like, oh yeah, I do. Because sometimes, again, we take for granted the things we don't see. So in people, I'm very good at finding other people's blind spots and helping them solve a problem. And like I said, the problem solver in me, I'm relentless. I'm like it in my corporate job. I'm like it in everything. I'm always like, no, there has to be a way. And I will sometimes not be able to sleep because I'll be thinking, there has to be something I've missed. There must be a way. And if that means I've got to research, talk to people, whatever it is, I need to find the answer to the problem. It's like, you know, nails on a chalkboard. That is what is happening in my brain until I solve the problem. So I think that's really helpful for me. And I know every coach is different and they do things differently. But for me, wanting to solve other people's problems and my own problems is really, really helpful.
I love that. That's so interesting. That's cool. Thank you for like taking us into your brain. That's nice. I like it. Because one of my questions is going to be give us like an interview prep 101. Like, how do we prep for an interview? Are you rehearsing it with them But essentially, you're just celebrating all the things that you're really good at.
Yeah, there is still prep. There is still
Yeah,
prep.
yeah.
So I will still say we still do
Believe it.
one-on-one. We still do practice, but you can't do interview prep until you know what you're good at. Like people will say to me, "Oh, I just wish I knew all the questions that they were going to ask me." And I'm like, even if you knew all the questions, a rubbish answer is still a rubbish answer. So even if I gave you a list of 10 questions and said, right, this is what you're going to be asked. If you don't know what you're good at, if you don't know how you bring value, if you don't know how you're going to impact that company, your answer's going to be crap. And that's just me being super honest. And my clients know I'm really direct with stuff like that. I'm like, but a crap answer is a crap answer. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, even if you knew every question, I said, we all know that most interviews, they're going to ask you, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Yet I will still hear people say, my weakness is I'm a perfectionist. Bear in mind, I've interviewed thousands of candidates.
Yeah.
It is not a weakness. Someone has told you to say that because it doesn't sound bad. You can say, I know that can be a strength and a weakness, but being a perfectionist, I know the answer is curated. Everyone says it. Listen, as a hiring manager, as a recruiter, I'm bored. I don't want to hear that answer, but this is what I mean. Just because you know the question doesn't mean the answer will be good.
Should you actually say what your weaknesses are?
Yes, but there's a formula, and this is where you're saying about interview prep. There's a formula. If you have gone through the interview and, for instance, you didn't answer a question as good as you should have, your weakness should be the answer, that thing. But your weakness should always be something that you've already started working on or that you have an answer to resolve. Example, if I was changing industry, my weakness is I've never worked in the industry. It's as simple as that. However, done this research. I have in my previous job done this, which connects to this, which is going to make it really easy for me. I don't see there being an issue. I know in this industry, you need people to be able to do X, Y, Z. I have done X, Y, Z and I'll give a story, I'll give an evidence, I'll give an example. So I don't think it will be a problem. However, I know obviously from your perspective, you're going to see it as a weakness because I haven't done it before. So another weakness for someone could be if you're, okay, for me, I remember once saying to someone in a recruitment job, which I don't recommend anyone doing, they were like, what's your weakness? I said, I hate admin. And they were like, but you have to do admin. I said, I know. I said, but although I hate admin, I said, it's not that I'm bad at it. I just don't enjoy it. So what I've done is 2 days a week, I've carved out in the afternoon. They are my admin days. I do nothing else but admin. So I sit, I get all my admin done. So I am never behind on my admin, but I know that it's not a strength because I have to make sure I block it out in my calendar. I have to make sure there's a second reminder and I have to force myself to do the admin. What I've noticed though is because I'm blocking out the days, instead of trying to do all my admin on different days, because I've got those set days, it means that my admin has been getting done really well, which has increased my productivity and then I'll give an example of where it's helped me in an area that I know that they care about.
Nice.
But that's how you answer. The formula for answering weakness is say the weakness, but make sure that you can counter it with evidence that you have worked on the weakness and how that weakness, you've now kind of got better at that thing. So you shouldn't just be saying, I'm really bad at timekeeping. And that's it. That's a rubbish thing to say.
Just rock up when I get here.
Yeah, I'll be here when I'm here. You could say I used to be really poor at timekeeping, but in the last year, what I've done to avoid that is X, Y, Z. I'm really bad at time management. So through the day, I'm not great at time management because sometimes I would end up having to stay really late at work to get things done. So what I've done recently to combat that is I time block. And then you explain how you time block. People need to see that you can evaluate yourself. The reason for that question is not to catch you out. It is to see, can you critically evaluate yourself and fix the problem without someone else telling you the problem? Your boss wants to know, am I going to always have to tell you the problem and you're never going to be able to fix it? Do you have any initiative? If you can't evaluate yourself, you're never going to be able to evaluate your work and have initiative and make your own work better. That's why they ask the question. So from a recruiter, just know that it's not to catch you out. It's actually to see if you can self-evaluate. If you just say, I'm perfect at everything, I don't ever do anything wrong, that's a red flag for an employer because they're like, so you've never made a mistake. You've never done anything wrong at work. For them, you're not able to self-evaluate. So it's really important. But again, that's why I say that knowing all the questions isn't the problem. It's knowing how to be true to yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? But what have you been doing to make those strengths better or those weaknesses better? And how can you talk about that interview in a way that sounds valuable to the person?
Nice. And do you take all of those in terms of like what the company can gain? Because usually the question's always like, why do you want to work here?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, why do you want to work here? Tell me why you want the job. Do you like take all of that and then think of how that will benefit the business and then kind of craft that message there.
Yes. So we always pull job descriptions. That's a task I always do, the job description task. We pull the job description or the job advert. We highlight what the keywords that they're looking for and which one of those you've done, which ones you've done something similar to, and which ones you think you've never done. And then we craft our answers around that. And then on top of that, we read websites. So a lot of people do this when they're thinking of why do you want to work here? They go to the first page of the website where it says company's been around since 1949. And we serve 30,000 people globally. Guess what? Everyone went to that same page, that same top paragraph, and everyone said the same thing in interview. Do you know what makes you stand out? You went through to maybe the third or fourth page, and you saw that the company has a sustainability program. You saw that they help ex-offenders come back into work, and you talk about which ones resonate with you and why you now want to work with that company. Guess what? That's a really impressive answer because you didn't say the first thing on their first page of their website. They now believe you've done your research. Or better yet, you go on their website, you find out who's the head of HR, you find out who are key people in the business, you go on LinkedIn, you look at their journey, you say, I saw that even the person, your CEO, used to work in teaching. I actually used to work in teaching.
Nice.
Guess what? I've just created common ground. I've just opened up the, because they're like now, oh, well, she has a similar background to the CEO. I probably don't, but I've been able to, because she was a teacher, I was a teacher. I now want to do what you lot are doing. Like, I've created connection, not by, again, people get like frustrated when they get rejections, but they don't realize that companies or the people that are interviewing are sometimes very sophisticated. We know that you've gone to the first page. Like, as soon as someone says to me, I love that you've been around for 40 years. I'm like, I know you went to the first page. And you've got to imagine, if I'm interviewing 10 people for the day and 10 people say the same thing, I've probably in my brain started to clock out because you're not going to keep my attention. But guess what? The person who came in and was like, not only am I impressed by the fact that your business has been around for 30 years, but I noticed that last year you guys won an award.
Nice.
In XYZ. And I noticed that the CEO's background is this and my background is this, or someone in my family has done, like, just you building that connection. Guess what? You build rapport. When you build rapport, people can see you in the job as part of their team. When the hiring manager can view you in their team, you're halfway there. You're more than half, because they're like, oh, I like her or I like him. And then they go from there. So that's really, really important. So they're the things I work on with my candidates for interview prep. Like, how are we standing out? We're not going to page one of the website. How are we answering questions? Firstly, we know our strengths, and then we're looking at what they want. How do our strengths feed into what they want? Now, can you communicate that? If I sent you to an interview today, have you got stories that you can tell them that show that you can do the thing that they're looking for?
Nice. Fantastic. And have you ever had clients that have gone in, they smashed the interview, they smashed their first week, they're like in it, they're loving it, and then like month 3 comes around and they're like, fuck, I hate this.
Absolutely. The rebound job happens to the best of us. I call it the
Rebound
rebound job.
I love that.
100%. As recruiters, one of the first things I was taught in recruitment was when you look at a CV, if someone's been somewhere for 11 years, their next job is probably not going to be a job that they stay at very long. If someone's been at a job for 20 years, the next job is, like, I was taught that. Like, I was taught that as a trainee recruiter. Like, they said to me, just know that when you look at CVs, this is not always the rule. I just want people to know that there is always exceptions to the rule, but sometimes this is the rule. Reason being, even if you didn't like your last company, you have got habits, you've got ways of working that you like. There's parts of the job you like. Also, there's comfort in familiarity. Also, if you hate your job, you are desperate to leave. You are so desperate that when you got the new job with the new shiny money and everything new, you didn't actually go deep enough to see if it was the right job. You just wanted a job. No different from sometimes when we leave a long relationship, the new shiny human that we meet, who we feel like they fill the void, when actually we didn't do our research. We just jumped in because we were that desperate. We were like, yeah, I just want to get over the old one, so I jump into a new one. Jobs are the same. You wanted to get over your old job, so you jumped into a new one. It was a rebound. Now you hate everything about the job because it's so different from what you were doing before. So different. You're like, oh, but there were things in my old company that actually I preferred the way they did it, even though I didn't love it there. Now you're annoyed with this company, so you're comparing, just like a relationship. You're comparing the ex with the new, like, because you haven't dealt with your baggage. And that's what a lot of my clients, sometimes they don't deal with the baggage. Even if I'm trying to help them deal with the baggage, they're like, no, Adelle, just help me get the money and the job. And I'm like, okay, but I feel like you've got this baggage. And if we don't remove the baggage, it's going to go with you. And when it goes with you, you're going to hate that job. And that's normal. I always warn all my clients that you might change. And after 3 months, you're going to hate that job. It's okay, because everything I've taught you, you can use again to get the new job. So don't waste your time. Don't stay there for another year. You hate it at 2 or 3 months. It's fine. That's one blip. It's not a problem. Let's use that and let's now use it. Everything you've learned from me and go across. And that's happened to some of my clients. They've ended up in the rebound job. After they've left the rebound job a couple months afterwards, and then they're in the great job. And they message me and be like, Adelle, I left. It was awful. You was right. But I'm in the new job, loving it, got the money I wanted, happy. Happens all the time, but it's okay. It's okay to have the rebound job. I had a job that I was only in for 11 weeks. I absolutely hated it. Absolutely hated it. But I was in a job before that was a bit toxic. My boss would call me on weekends and when I was on annual leave, and it was just horrible. So I was so desperate to get away from that. I just took the first good offer. 11 weeks in, I hated it. I was like, it wasn't even 11 weeks. It was like after a month, I was like, oh my gosh, I hate it. And then I was like, right, I'm going to stay for 3 months, but in that time, I'm going to look for something else. And then it ended up that I left at 11 weeks because I found something else.
Yeah. And I think as well, just making that first move, it just gives you that self-esteem. I know this sounds a
Confidence.
bit harsh, but like somebody else does want you. Do you get me?
100%, 100%. You now have that confidence and you're like, okay, I can do it again. Anything you feel like you can do, and especially if you've been somewhere 10, 15 years and then you leave and get a new job and it's great, but you just don't like the job anymore. Now you almost feel like, oh, I get to pick and choose.
Yeah.
So I don't like you, so I'm going to go somewhere else because I got this job, so I definitely can get another one. It is that like a little bit of like.
Gorgeous. Have you had people that keep going to different jobs and they still hate all of them?
We had one. I'm trying to think if I've only had one that I can really think of that comes to mind who has kept switching jobs.
Yeah.
And eventually she came to me and she said to me, it's because I didn't do all the work. Again, she was kind of chasing money. She goes, I just thought the money is great, so I took the job. Then the money was great at another job, so I took that job. Then the money was great at the next job. So she just kept moving. She hadn't sat back and thought, firstly, what do I want the money for? What does life look like with all this money? Like, why do I want this money? What type of life am I trying to build? What type of freedom? What type of access? What type of experiences do I want in my life? How does my job feed that? And then start thinking about the job she wanted. So it was just that we needed to do work on her bigger picture and what does she want? Because sometimes we're chasing a dream job when actually we're not the person who wants a dream job. We just want a dream life.
Yeah.
Like some people will find a dream job. I'm not someone who necessarily thinks there's one dream job, but I do think there's a dream life. And the dream life I want means that only certain types of jobs can feed that dream life. So, and I think people are scared to say that. Some people are like, no, you got to have the dream career. You don't. Not if your career gives you a dream life, it feels like a dream career because it's perfect for the life you're trying to build.
What about when we visualize this dream life that we want? We've written it all down. We've got our vision boards. We've like been sat there visualizing it, but we can't find that job that gives us that dream life. Where do we go then?
Then we need to keep working because there's always a job that will help you build the life that you want. And whether that job leads you to entrepreneurship, a side hustle, an industry that you never thought of, there is always a way to reverse engineer your vision board.
Nice.
So you know what you want, how can you achieve it? Like I always knew I travel 4 to 6 times a year for the last 12 years. I love it. I love travel. It's a part of my self-care. It's peace to me. Like I love travel. I was always like, how am I going to do that with a like high-flying corporate director job? Like it doesn't even add up. Like how am I going to do that? And I came to the conclusion that I needed to work less hours but make the same sort of money. That was a part of my vision board. I had that all over my vision board. Like how will I make the same sort of money but only work like 3 days a week? And then I remember maybe a year after putting that on my vision board, I was like, well, I negotiate salary, I negotiate annual leave, because I'd started negotiating annual leave by that point. So I had a lot more annual leave than most people have. So then that helped me to travel. I was like, why can't I negotiate how many days I do but not lose money? So I figured out how to negotiate part-time hours for full-time money. People always ask me how. And I'm like, I literally figured, I was like, I had a conversation. I just went and had a conversation like I would any other negotiation conversation. And I said, I think I can deliver what I've been doing for you in 5 days in 4. If you let me try it out and it doesn't work, I'll come back to 5 days, but can we have a go? I got a yes eventually after doing my pitch, but that helped me because I'm reverse engineering. How can I have more time in my life, because my dream life includes travel, but it also includes working less. I reverse engineered. And then when you are reverse engineering and when you are looking at your vision board regularly and when you were talking about your vision board all the time, your brain will come up with ways to get you to that point. But you have to be, vision boards can't just be stagnant. They've got to be active. So I'll constantly be saying things like, I would always be like, oh yeah, I'm going to eventually have like a holiday home in Miami. I've been saying this for years. I haven't got the holiday home yet in Miami. However, I have looked at homes overseas in Florida. I have looked at holiday homes in different countries. I've looked at homes in the Caribbean. Because I keep talking about it, I'm getting closer and closer to that being a goal, because I'm always talking about, well, this is what I want. I don't know how I'm going to get it, but I know I'm going to. It was the same as I didn't know how I was going to work 3 days a week for full-time money, but I knew I was going to do it. And eventually I got there. I got to the point where I was working 3 days, but I was making the same money I made as a full-time employee. And I was like, okay, but I worked backwards. I knew that's what I wanted. I just didn't know how I was going to get it. We worry sometimes too much about the how instead of just making the decision that I can have this life. Now let your brain start to give you ideas. Let you talk to people who maybe you see doing it. Like, how was you able to get here? Like, have conversation and don't rush the process. If you want it, if it takes a year, it's still going to feel just as good as if it takes 2 years. Like, if it takes 6 months, it feels great. But if it took you a year, you're not going to be sad. Like, I wasn't sad that it took me maybe over a year to get the part-time hours and full-time money. It took me longer than I wanted it to take, but I wasn't sad that, like, you know, sometimes we give up because we're like, it's taking too long. And I always say to people, how can it be taking too long? The time is going to pass.
Yeah.
The time is still good. It's still going to be 25, 2026, 2027. The time will still pass. So why give up? You might as well keep trying, because whether you, for instance, became a millionaire in 5 years' time or 10 years, the fact that you became a millionaire is going to be the good thing. So yeah, use your vision board and work backwards. I do think the dream job, there is always a job to complement the life that you want, but you may not have even heard of that job yet.
Do you think people on like the lower range of salaries, like somebody who's on maybe like 12, 13, 14, 15 pounds an hour in the UK, can negotiate their working hours for a higher salary? Or do you
Not
think
necessarily, it depends on the type of job.
do you think it's
I'm a
more
believer in that. I'm a believer in it. Everyone's not going to be able to negotiate part-time hours for full-time. Like, it just isn't realistic. Like, a lot of minimum wage jobs will not allow for that.
no?
They won't allow for that. But your job then, if that's something that you want, is to negotiate as high as you can in the minimum wage job. Like, as a teacher, we were always told you can only earn inside a certain salary band. This is the salary band, and you definitely, depending on your grade, and a lot of anyone who works for the NHS will know what I'm talking about. Depending on your grade and how many years you've got, you can only earn within that band. I've negotiated outside salary bands my whole life in teaching. It didn't mean that I was on good money. It just meant I was on better money than I should be for the amount of years experience I had and stuff like that. So wherever you are, try and negotiate better money and then try and move. If your goal is part-time hours, full-time money, if your goal is to be able to travel more, your minimum wage job might not allow it, because the way they have working patterns, what they need as a business won't complement what you need as an employee. Once you start to notice that, your only job is to move in stages. So you're in a minimum wage job. How can you get £2 an hour more? Is it doing the same job for another company who pays better? Is it negotiating with your current boss because you're great at what you do and you can show them how great you are and you can actually negotiate the extra £2 an hour? Great. Once you've done that, that will give you the confidence to now think about, can I go and do this somewhere else? So no, I don't think you can do it in every single job, because some jobs just don't allow for, there isn't room for them to be able to have that. Like, you need to be on a shift pattern. Like, I know people in hospitality, when my clients come to me, hospitality is a really hard industry, because of the hours they need you to work, because of the hours that their customers require them to be open. It's really as simple as that. Like, the customers require like all different types of day. Like, if you're going into a restaurant, they require, like, some people are going to eat in the afternoon, some people are going to go and eat at 9 o'clock in the evening. You require staff that are able to do all the shift patterns.
Yeah.
Different from me negotiating part-time hours in a corporate job that's in an office that has set 8 till 5 or 9 till 6 or whatever it is, that has set hours, and me saying, I can still deliver you. This is what you guys want. You want me to be able to deliver X every month. I can still deliver that over a 4-day period. Let me prove it to you. It's very different. How do you deliver food at 9 p.m. if you're not in the building?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So I think, yeah, it doesn't work like that. I think when you're in a minimum wage job, and I've been in plenty of minimum wage jobs, my first thought was always, how can I start earning more money? to give myself more options, because the truth is money will give you more options in this life and in this current job market. The more money you're earning, the more options you can create for yourself. Also, the more areas you've got for investing or creating passive income or even just saving. So I think if you're on a minimum wage job, your focus should be, how can I just get even £2 an hour more?
And what I
And
always think is lovely as well is when you have maybe like £5,000-6,000 saved up before you start going to all these different places, before you start going abroad, things
that
like that.
helps your nervous system.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. That for me was one of my biggest things for my nervous system, even when I was moving jobs. And I should have said that actually when you asked me about overwhelm. That was one of my biggest things, just having 3 months of savings. I didn't actually touch it. It actually became the starting point of me being really good at saving. It actually became my base.
Yes.
But that start made me feel way less overwhelmed because I was like, oh, I've got some money. I've got 3 months worth of expenses. I know some of my clients, we work on getting 6 months worth of expenses. So I tell them, go away, do this, and then come back and we'll start coaching properly. Because I want your nervous system to be so calm when you're about to make this move. Because if everything went wrong, at least you've got 6 months worth of savings. And again, your starting point is always your current point. But if you've also got 6 months of savings, it's really helpful. So I do love that you said that, because it is honestly one of the most helpful things.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most sensible things that you can do, especially if you're in your 20s, not to go do it on a car or put it into
Yeah.
a mortgage or even spend it on flight tickets. Like, just keep it with you until you get like sponsored by like an abroad company. So then
Yes.
it is all sort of paid for. Like, just keep it there
Yes,
for
I agree.
like something to fall back on.
If you were more confident, what would you do right now?
Nice.
I like asking people that question, because then they'll come up with an answer and I'll say to them, why can't you try it? But because we all say we want more confidence, but for what? If you were more confident right now, what would what would change in your life? What would you do? So mostly the question is, if you were more confident right now, if you had the confidence that you wanted, how would that change your life?
I'm gonna think about that for the rest of the day, actually. I like that a lot. Nice. That's gorgeous. Adele, I feel like we've spoken about so much. I love it all so much.
Been great. It's been such a good
Yeah, literally. I feel like you got so much spice and fire, and I love the fact that you have such this gift of problem solving. It's so nice and satisfying. I bet it's phenomenal to work with you and around you. How can people work with you?
If you want to work with me, you can reach out to me. People will love to reach out to me on LinkedIn, but book a consultation call. You can go to my website. It's atmrich.com. I'm off for the summer, so I'll be off from mid-June all the way to the end of August, and I will be back again in September. So if you do want career help, again, just reach out, book a consultation call. It's 30 minutes. It's just a conversation to see if we fit, if I can help you. I have 2 coaching options. People can either do long-term coaching with me or just one-off sessions. So yeah, that's how you can work with me. And if you just want to know more about what I do, listen to my podcast. It's called 5 for 2 Careers. That will give you an example of how I coach.
Nice. What are you up to this summer?
I'm going to be, for once, chilling. Like, I usually am traveling and doing the most, but I'm taking it as it comes this summer. But last year was the first year where I took all of July and all of August off. Because prior to that, it's when you're running a business, you're all in all the time. There's no breaks. But this year I was like, I'm going to take it off again, and we're going to figure it out, because my daughter is home from uni.
Fantastic.
So this is she's only done her first year. So this will be really nice. It's going to be the first time. So we're going to figure it out as a family. Like, what are we going to do? What should we do for the summer? But yeah, I think it's going to be pretty chill. I think it's going to be a UK summer, which is a first for me. Very much a first for me. I'm never a UK summer. I'm always out of the country. So
I
it's going to
think
be
you'll love
interesting.
it.
Yes, I think so
Get to
too.
the
Like,
lakes
exploring
of
the
the
UK and seeing what goes on in the UK, because it's been years probably since I've had a UK summer.
Yeah, and it'll be so cool. Can you remember when we spoke before? Maybe try and find like an outdoor activity thing where you can do like canoeing and like some like water sports and stuff. That'll be so
Absolutely.
much fun.
And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, what can I do that I would usually do abroad? What can
Yeah.
I do here? So I think it's going to be fun. And then because my daughter's back home from uni, I think that'll be really cool. So yeah, we're going to figure out. But yeah, it's just a chilled UK summer, getting ready for the September rush of all the people that want to change careers and do their thing.
I love it. Thank you so much, Adele. Take care.